This was the week where the House voted to establish an independent commission to investigate the January 6th Capitol riots. But Republicans are looking to block it in the Senate, which makes sense. Like, they know they don't need a 9/11 style commission on January 6th. They already know it was an inside job. Okay. They did it. All right. That's like asking Osama bin Laden to decide whether or not to raid his own compound. Like, what do we think he's going to say? Or like asking the police to, investigate themselves, which, wait a minute, that actually happens. Some Republicans contend there are already investigations going on and that they should expand the scope of any new investigation to dig into other supposed culprits like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the female orgasm. They're going right to the source. Meanwhile, Capitol Police are having a hard time recruiting and keeping officers. An anonymous group of Capitol Police expressed their frustration at Republicans' reticence in forming a commission, putting out a letter that said, "We hope that members who we took an oath to protect would at the very minimum support an investigation to get to the bottom of everyone responsible and hold them 100% accountable, no matter the title or position they hold." Of course, that pretty clear message was completely mangled and misconstrued by America's most watched Klansman, Tucker Carlson. Let's take a look at that.
Do what we say or watch your back. In this case, that's exactly what they were saying to Republicans. Quote, "We, members of the United States Capitol Hill Police, write this letter to express our profound disappointment with the recent comments from both chambers' minority leaders, Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, expressing no need for a January 6th commission. We are expected to remain neutral and do our jobs with honor and integrity," the letter continued. "It is unfortunate that our bosses, Congress, are not held to the same standard that we, the USCP, are." Well, that's a ransom note. Imagine getting it from one of your own bodyguards. It might be enough to make you rethink your position, which is, of course, the point of it. The Capitol Police are now effectively an armed political action committee.
Imagine if that was one of your bodyguards, you guys, your bodyguards.
Yeah. Imagine if police were able to lobby and advocate for political changes in specific elected leaders. What a disaster that would be.
Imagine
it's a good
if
thing
police...
Tucker's getting him on the ground floor of this.
I feel like this is the closest he's come to saying, like, defund the police.
Imagine if trust was broken with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if they didn't make us feel safe.
Oh my God.
I don't watch a lot of Tucker Carlson because it's traumatizing, but this terracotta colored gentleman is he's got some really wild rhetorical acrobatics going on.
Yes. Oh, obviously what we're referring to is the fact that the police already have a huge amount of political sway all the time. But of course, and the right forever says Blue Lives Matter. And if you draw attention to that at all, you're called, unpatriotic or you hate police officers. But when it comes to the Capitol police officers themselves defending themselves from a mob, then all of a sudden blue lives don't matter anymore. No. Now let's criticize the police. Now they're holding us ransom. It's a threat to Republicans, which is just obviously a total misconstruing of what happened. But what do you guys think about, the vote hasn't happened yet. We need 10 Republican senators to say, yes, there should be a commission. What are your thoughts on whether or not they're going to vote to form one, and does it matter?
I don't know how much it matters, because I don't think there's, whether or not they do a commission, I don't think there's really any chance that they're going to bring any of the members of Congress, any of the elected leaders, any of the major figures within the Republican Party who were responsible for inciting what happened on the 6th, charges on those people. I just don't see that happening. And if that doesn't happen, it's just going to be more than anything a circus. There's already an investigation going on. I think it would be positive if there was, some accountability for people who were in the Republican Party and who spent, years inciting this, and who, you know, may have led folks on tours and stuff of the Capitol behind this. But I don't think that's going to happen one way or the other. I think we've kind of punted on that already. So I guess I'm just kind of fundamentally pessimistic that any of the major people behind this are going to face any kind of justice. I just don't see that happening one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pessimistic in that, like, this piece of legislation just feels like more political theater, but politics is theater. So I still feel like the establishment of a commission is more important than doing nothing, because these things will have, like, you know, in history books 20 years from now, to say that this didn't happen is also just part of this, like, tiny little piece by piece erosion of faith in, like, our democracy. Mm-hmm. And my first question too was like, well, what would the commission do? And the ridiculous thing is, like, that's almost less important than the fact that if it was just formed would send a strong message. And of course, I don't think it would result in, like, real charges for any members of Congress. But I also feel like, given that it's a symbolic gesture, I'd rather have the whole thing fail than to have it pushed through with all these qualifiers that, like, Kevin McCarthy wants to put on it. Like, oh, well, then we'll throw in Black Lives Matter and then investigate Antifa. I think that would almost do, maybe not more, but that would do so much damage to lump those movements in with an actual insurrection. Like, I can't tell which option would be more damaging to just, like, our faith in democracy, period. None at all, or one that just, like, is an olla podrida of, like, random political movements that they find unsavory.
Oh my God, all of DC is the olla podrida. I feel like, you know, here's the thing, it's May, and it feels like it's been a year since January 6th. It feels like it's been way too long. And I had to, like, stop and be like, wait a minute, how long has it been? Like, not that long, but also I kind of agree with Robert, like, a little too long to start this process now. I know there have been other investigations. This would arguably go deeper, I think, into some of the misinformation. It would go deeper into who promoted the big lie. I mean, I'm looking at Representative Paul Gosar and Louis Gohmert. I'm looking at them, like, working with, you know, the Stop the Steal rally planners, like, all of that stuff. Much more so than, oh, here, let's arrest a Proud Boy or two, you know, or let's arrest this one guy. And so I feel like it is important. I'm just like, I feel like we could have done both things, and we should have been having this discussion a lot earlier, when it was way fresher, and when we knew that Kevin McCarthy was on the phone to Donald Trump going, no, this is not Antifa. These are your people. This is you. And he's openly admitting that. Now it's like 180. And of course, since a day in news is, again, like 6 months, it all just washes away. And I think that's the most terrifying part of it. Look,
do you think, I guess I'm asking both of you, do you think, like, it feels like almost like an extension of, like a less flashy, but like an extension of, like, Trump's strategy of, like, creating a symbolic distraction so they can, like, pass actually really harmful legislation, like all of the new voter suppression bills, basically, that are popping up like whack-a-moles everywhere? I just second guessed myself, and I was like, oh, well, this is symbolic, but it's important. And I'm just like, oh God, well, there's, like, more, like, much less symbolic legislation that's just being pushed through state by state. And it's, like, kind of terrifying to think about, well, how many of those bills are going to be, like, put through by 2022, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's an example of kind of the thing that's most frightening about American politics, which is that Democrats are extremely reactive in what they actually do and extremely ad hoc, and Republicans have a concerted plan that they go after on a very granular level. So you have these extremely effective state organizations that act as part of a comprehensive plan. Allows them to continue to wield power, even though they only really have maybe between a quarter and a third of the country, like, seriously in them. They're so effective at organizing and wielding their power, and the Democrats are just kind of
Playing defense.
Yeah, not even it's like not even playing defense, because they don't defend anything half the time.
Oh my God.
They're just I see no concerted strategy on behalf of Democratic legislators or leaders to accomplish anything that actually I think needs to be accomplished. I'm sure they have in their own heads strategies, but I have not seen on behalf of the Democratic Party, for all they talk about climate change, I have seen no concerted effort over the last 20 years to address environmental issues that is even vaguely comparable to the concerted effort that conservatives have executed in order to criminalize abortion.
It.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have not seen anything like that for anything on the liberal side of it. Maybe the only possible exception to that may be gay marriage. But I even feel like that was not particularly driven by the Democratic Party. They just kind of admitted it had already become popular enough among enough people that it was like kind of a politically unwise. Because I mean, Obama and Biden embraced pretty late culturally. I don't see that as I just don't see the Democrats making plans and carrying them out.
Robert, can I ask, how would you characterize the GOP's ultimate plan? What is the plan?
It is to maintain power, and it is to continue to maintain the state of white supremacy that is sort of, when they hearken back to what America should be, what they're talking about was a period of time in which the cultural power of white supremacy in this country was unquestioned. We're talking like the 1950s, really like the height of American exceptionalism and power. That's what they want to go, the thing that they are attempting to maintain. And that's why things like gay marriage are so important, or not gay marriage. That's why fighting abortion in particular, a critical issue for them, because it's a way you can keep a lot of people who might otherwise disagree with you about things like economic justice, right? A lot of conservative Christians are actually open to a lot of kind of more left-wing attitudes about social welfare, but they can't compromise on abortion. And that's not a thing that's always existed. That process of making compromise on abortion impossible started in the 1970s, and it was part of an extremely well thought out, successful tactic to guarantee that they can maintain their power base.
Yeah. Also by keeping women in sort of second class citizenship, that really helps. I just want to say, look, shoe on the other foot, Republicans would be going ape, right? How long did the Benghazi trials last, and the hearings or whatever the hell trials they wish? Like, it was endless. And so shoe on the other foot. And it's just like, when will Democrats actually respond? Have you become a patron yet? Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room is where you can directly support this show and help me make it sustainable so that I can do more of what I do best, doing this.